Hey folks, it's Rob, and welcome back to our 20th episode on the expert set for the Dungeons and Dragons Basic Expert Companion Master and Immortal line Beckme. Today we're continuing on with our section on monsters, where we are now in E for Elemental, which you can see has an asterisk next to it, so you can expect special influences, powers, immunities. That's the word I want. Um, yeah, but interesting layout here again. And there's going to be a lot of imagining happening because we have no picture for a lot of information that's going to be in this tight little, it's admittedly about like, I don't know, a bit more than a third of the page, maybe about 40%. Elemental is going to be fairly broad because there are types: air, earth, fire, and water. Yep. Armor class is 2, 0, or -2, see below. Hit dice is 8, 12, or 16, see below. Movement varies depending on the type. So air, flying, 360 feet or 120. They're quite fast in the air, as you might expect an air elemental to be. Earth, 60 feet across the ground, 20 feet in combat, and again, I'm just not going to, these secondary numbers are combat movement. The first numbers are overland non-combat movement. So, Earth Elemental is quite slow. Fire Elemental, about the speed of the party, 120 by 40. Water Elementals are surprisingly slow in the water, but no, that's on the ground. 60 by 20 on the ground. In water, 180 by 60. So each of them get one attack or special. The damage done in that one attack is 1 to 8, 2 to 16, or 3 to 12. Number appearing will be 1. Save as fighter of 8 to 16 hit level. Morale 10, quite robust. Treasure type nil, which is often frustrating for the party. Alignment neutral, which is interesting. Now, the elemental is summoned quite often, right? And so it depends on the nature of how it was summoned, the AC and the hit dice and the XP value and the damage it does and the save as we can see in this little kind of semi-table here below the main statistics. So if they were summoned by a staff, that's the weakest form of summoning. 8 hit dice, 650 XP, damage 1 to 8, saves as fighter 8. If you use some form of device, such as a miscellaneous magic item, some kind of brazier, for example, 12 hit dice, 1,100 XP, 2 to 16 damage, 2 to 8, 2d8, that is, fighter 12, it saves as. And if you were to use a summoning spell, you're conjuring them into existence with, say, a 5th level magic user spell, that's going to be -2 AC, 16 hit dice, 1,350 XP, damage 3d8 or 3 to 24. Fighter type level 16 it saves as. Quite robust, especially for the expert set. An elemental is a magical, enchanted creature which lives on another plane of existence, one of the elemental planes. We're just beginning to touch on what that is in this rule set. The wider universe, right? Beyond the prime material plane universe itself is various elemental planes, fire, earth, air, water, plus also a positive and negative energy plane. And then kind of levered on all of that, and the prime material plane in the middle of that, on all of that is the astral plane, which also exists. And then beyond that, you have what are called the outer planes. And that's as much as we're going to talk about that right now. But the planar mythology is consistent with also Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and 2nd edition. I don't know about 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I've not spent much time with those. Sorry. Outside of video games, that is. So, getting back into this, right? It can be harmed only by magic or magical weapons. So, keep that in mind as well. Much like wights, many other creatures that we've discussed already, they're only attacked and harmed by magic or magical weapons. No silver, no iron rods, just full on magic. Okay? Staff elementals are the weakest, are summoned by using a magic user with a special staff. Device elementals are summoned with the use of a special miscellaneous magical item. Conjured elementals are summoned by the casting of the 5th level magic user spell. To summon an elemental, a character must have a large amount of the element nearby: open air, bare earth, a pool of water, or a bonfire. When the elemental arrives, it is hostile and must be controlled by concentration at all times. The summoner's concentration may be broken by taking damage or failing any saving throw, and the summoner may only move up to 1/2 normal speed while concentrating. And I would even penalize that even more if the terrain is not even and clear, right? If you're making them cross a broken field full of holes and corpses, and or like having to go like down a broken slope, or heck, just crossing a room full of like hoarder stuff. you know, they have to be very careful and slow. If the summoner's concentration is broken, now we're moving up to second column here up at the top of the page, the way this is formatted. If the summoner's concentration is broken, the elemental will attack. Once lost, control cannot be regained. The elemental may attack any creature between it and its summoner. If summoned in an area too small for it, see size is noted below, an elemental will fill the available area sideways, for example, possibly damaging the summoner in the process and thus breaking the summoner's concentration. However, an elemental cannot pass a protection from evil spell effect, which is a fairly low-level spell and very accessible to your party, and actually very handy as long as they don't break the protection. And please note, these are supposed to be neutral creatures, but you are protected from evil, right? And it affects these. That's because the game, again, is a 3-point alignment system of lawful, neutral, and chaotic. And there is no description of good or evil or even just neutral in that. It is, you can be a good lawful person, you can be an evil lawful person, you can be a neutral lawful person. And the same can be said for chaos and neutral. And so elementals are evil, as you can see. An elemental will vanish if it or its summoner is slain, or when the summoner sends it back to its plane, which requires control, or if a dispel magic is cast upon it, which, I believe that's about 3rd level spell for clerics and for magic users. So pretty achievable if they've been doing summoning. An elemental appears as an air elemental appears as a great whirlwind, 2 feet tall, and 1/2 foot in diameter for each hit die. A staff elemental would be 16 feet tall and 4 feet across. Got that? That's the low-level one. Yeah. If it was, let's say, an actual summon one with a spell, right? That's going to be 32 feet wide. Sorry, no, I'm wrong. 8 feet wide and 32 feet tall. And if there's not room for it, you're going to make room for it. So, again, your party members may be dumb, but don't let your players cause your player character to be incredibly dumb, right? They point out the volume of the area, because they should be able to, unless they're completely unfamiliar with the spell, and they're like reading it from a scroll, in which case, so be it, right? But if they've been taught this by their mentor and or they've researched it heavily, they should have a clue as to what's going on and be aware of just how powerful an elemental they're going to be summoning and how much space it's going to need. So in combat, all victims of 2 hit dice or less are hit by the whirlwind must make a saving throw versus death rate or be swept away. Elemental inflicts an extra 1 to 8 points of damage against any flying opponent. Earth Elemental appears as a huge man-like figure, 1 foot tall for each hit die. A spell conjured elemental would be 16 feet tall. It cannot cross a water barrier wider than its height. It inflicts an extra 1 to 8 points of damage against any opponent standing on the ground, which is most people. A fire elemental appears as a swirling pillar of roaring flame, 1 foot tall and 1 foot in diameter for each hit die. A device elemental would be 12 feet tall and 12 feet across. It cannot cross a water barrier wider than its own diameter. It inflicts an extra 1 to 8 points of damage against any creature with cold-based abilities. A water elemental appears as a great wave of water, 1/2 foot tall and 2 foot in diameter for each hit die. A staff elemental is 4 foot tall and 16 feet across. It is not able to move more than 60 feet from water. It inflicts an extra 1 to 8 points of damage against any opponent in water. That completes our elemental stage. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack in that and develop, I feel, as a dungeon master to make use of these. But, it's up to you to be, if you're introducing these things. Like, are these spells available to the players? Are these devices and magical items available to the players? Are they available to the NPC villains that you've introduced? Are the modules you may be running may have those already included. They'll give you some notes as well. But these are things that will exist not permanently, usually in the prime material plane. So they are conjured, summoned items that exist from another plane of existence, and have been brought here. Now, in the Mystara setting, there are definitely portals, naturally occurring portals to other planes of existence that do allow monsters to occasionally wander in that are extraplanar. But elementals generally aren't interested in hanging out on the prime material plane. Okay? But in the event that you're using anything like that, make sure that you're reading the notes. Let's do elephant, since it's in the middle of the page here. The elephant in the middle of the room, as it were. We can see we have normal and prehistoric elephants. Yeah. Okay. So, like a mammoth, right? Mastodon, that kind of thing. Elephant, armor class, normal, 5. Prehistoric, 3. Hit dice, 9 for the normal. Prehistoric's 15. They both move at 120 by 40. They both have 2 tusks or 1 trample attack. The normal elephant is 2d8 and 2d8, so that's 2d4, right? Or 4 to 32 for the trample, that's 4d8. Meanwhile, the prehistoric is 2 to 12 and 2 to 12 on each tusk, or 4 to 32 on the trample. So the trample's the same, but the tusks are 2d6. Number appearing in the dungeon, none. You're not going to find elephants in the dungeon, apparently. But above ground, you might encounter a herd of 1 to 20 elephants, or 2 to 16 prehistoric elephants, right? The normal elephant saves as fighter level 5, prehistoric saves as fighter level 8. Morale is 8 in both cases. Treasure type C below. They are both neutral because they are animals. You may have seen some elephants in person in your life because maybe you went to the zoo, maybe you went to the circus. Maybe you've just only seen them on TV or in videos or in books. But I think you know what an elephant can look like. Regular elephant, XP value 900. Prehistoric elephant, you won't have seen that in person, 1,350 XP. Elephants dwell at the edges of subtropical forests. Any number may be encountered. Both males and females have tusks, which are valued for their ivory. 100 to 600 gold pieces per tusk. In combat, elephants will charge first if possible for double damage. In the following rounds of combat, they will either strike with their tusks, 75%, or trample, 25%. A prehistoric elephant called a mastodon is basically a large, shaggy elephant. Each tusk is worth 200 to 800 gold pieces. They live in cold, icy lands or lost worlds. I believe there was a small mastodon population inside living modern human memory of about 3 to 4,000 years ago in some kind of island to the north of Russia. That's how recent that kind of thing is. Uh, Human beings definitely lived amongst such creatures, but we probably hunted them or avoided them. Interestingly, pretty much anywhere humans have gone, megafauna have disappeared, and it would just only show up in the fossil record. Uh, See much of North America. The megafauna in Africa seems to have adapted best to humans because they grew up with us, is the theory. Anyhow, that's a huge tangent. And we have a bottom third section here on fish, comma, giant. That's right. You want to fight some giant fish? I know I do. In my regular campaign I play with Father Aaron, the dungeon minister. He threw at us a giant fish as we were traveling to the big city by boat. So yeah, feel free to use giant fish as random encounters. Just as an example of something I've encountered recently, however. So we have three types: giant bass, giant rockfish, and giant sturgeon. Let's roll through these. So the giant, I'm going to roll through them individually to make this, because they do seem quite disparate. Okay. So giant bass, armor class 7, hit dice 2, move while swimming, and there's an asterisk next to that. They only swim, right? They're fish. No flying, no flopping across the ground, just swimming. 120 by 40. Its attack is 1 bite. The bite does a d6. Number appearing 0 in your dungeon, but 2 to 8 in the wild. Save as fighter 1. Morale 8. No treasure. Alignment neutral. It's a giant fish. XP value 20. The giant rockfish. Armor class 7. Hit dice, however, is 5 plus 5. So that's 5 hit dice plus 5 hit points, and it has an asterisk next to it. Its movement is 180 by 60, so it's faster. Attack is 4 spines and poison. Each spine does 1d4 damage each and poison. Again, no fish in your dungeon, but in the wild, 2 to 8. Save as fighter level 3. Morale 8. No treasure again. Neutral. It is again still just a fish. XP value 225. The giant sturgeon. Armor class 0. Hit dice 10 plus 2. That's 10 hit dice plus 2 hit points with an asterisk next to it. So it'll have something special about it. Move 180 by 60. Its attack is 1 bite. The bite does 2 to 20. That's 2d10 points of damage. Number appearing 0. Again, no fish in your dungeon, but 1 to 2 will appear in the wild. Saves as fighter 5. Morale 9. Slightly fiercer. Still no treasure. Still neutral. XP value 1,600. These 3 giant fish are typical. Many others exist, and the DM may create as many as desired. And feel free to create whatever monsters you want, but use these as kind of like a gauging example for fish, right? Giant bass. These are normally shy fish and will attack only if a morsel of food, halfling-sized or smaller, is floating nearby or on the surface. They may also be summoned and directed to fight by nixies. Spiny rockfish. This fish, found in shallow salt water, is very difficult to see. Observers may mistake it for a rock or lump of coal, 70% chance. If disturbed, the fish will attack to drive off foes. If touched by accident, the victim is automatically hit by 4 of the sharp spines covering the creature's body, taking 1 to 4 points of damage per spine and requiring a saving throw versus poison for each hit. Any failure results in death. Despite its fearsome attacks, the fish is normally peaceful and will only attack if disturbed. Finally, the giant sturgeon. Giant sturgeons, this dangerous creature is almost 30 feet long and covered with thick armor-like scales. It is a fierce fighter and can swallow an opponent with a hit roll of 18 or better. The victim takes 2 to 12 points of damage per round and must make a saving throw versus Death Ray or be paralyzed. If not paralyzed, the victim may attack from within. And yeah, you're not immediately dead. It'll take you time to suffocate inside the giant fish. Make sure you fight your way out or people free you before because this is in the water too, right? But yeah, wildly disparate versions of giant fish. Giant bass, you might actually just want to seek one just to catch it. It's a bass. Tasty. Moving on to our next page. We're not done with giants. No, we got a lot of giants. A lot of different flavors of giant. Yep. Giants are cool to use and are popular and feature in certain classic modules. We have here 6 different kinds of giants, in addition to the Cyclops we already discussed. And ogres kind of fall into the giantkin kind of category, which are in the basic set. Let's get started. We're going to need to compare and contrast these. So I think we're going to roll across on each stat and just kind of be that way, right? I don't know. I feel like there's no real good option on rolling down each one or rolling across on each stat. It's either is bad, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. Hill giant. That's your most common kind of giant. Most human-looking kind of giant. In the sense of it's not looks like rocks. It's not blue and frosty. It's not covered in fire. That kind of thing. It's just a typical big dumb giant, right? Armor class 4, 8 hit dice, moves 120 by 40. It has a weapon, usually like a large club or something like that, torn up tree. That damage for this weapon attack is 2 to 16. That's 2d8. 1 to 4 appear in your dungeon. 2 to 8 in the wild, maybe a camp, that kind of thing. Saves as fighter 8, morale 8, treasure type E, and 5,000 gold pieces. And that plus 5,000 gold pieces is true in each and every case of all of these giants, and they're all treasure type E. The alignment does vary. Hill giants are chaotic and are worth 650 XP. Stone giant, also armor class 4, slightly more hit dice at 9, 120 by 40 for movement, one weapon. That weapon does 3 to 18. That's 3d8. 1 to 2 appear in the dungeon, or 1 to 6 in the wild. Saves as fighter 9, morale 9 instead of 8. A little more stalwart. This is neutral in alignment and XP value 900. Frost giant, also AC 4. 10 plus 1 hit die, so 10 hit dice plus 1 hit point. 120 by 40 for movement, one weapon, which does 4 to 24 points of damage. That's 46. 1 to 2 appear in the dungeon, or 1 to 4 on probably a mountain or in the ice waste, that kind of thing. Fighter type, level 10, it saves as, morale 9. Again, treasure type E, 5,000 gold pieces, chaotic, however, and 1,600 XP for defeating one. Fire giant, that is also AC 4, but 11 hit dice plus 2, right? And there's an asterisk. 120 by 40 for movement. Again, one weapon. The damage is 5 to 30. That's a 5d6, a basic level fireball. But it's not a fireball, fortunately. It's just a weapon strike. 1 to 2 appear in the dungeon, 1 to 3 over ground, usually in hot environments like in your lava caves or, kind of other places like that. Saves his fighter at level 11, morale 9, E, 5,000 gold pieces. Chaotic again, 1,900 XP. The Cloud Giant, also armor class 4, hit dice 13 with an asterisk. 120 by 40 for movement. One weapon again, 6 through 36. That's a 66 damage. 1 to 2 in the dungeon, 1 to 3 overland. Saves as fighter level 12. Morale 10, quite robust. Treasure type E, 5,000 gold pieces. They are neutral, 2,300 XP each. And finally, our Storm Giant. Armor class 2, 15 hit dice with a double asterisk. Moves 150 by 50, faster than the rest of these. The attack is 1 plus special. The damage from the weapon attack is 8 to 48. And a special. 1 will appear in the dungeon, or 1 to 3 will appear overland. Storm giants are like high mountain dwellers. Saves as fighter level 15. Morale 10. Again, treasure type E plus 5,000 gold pieces. These are lawful. 3,250 XP. Getting into the description. Giants are huge, human-like monsters. Most are usually willing to negotiate when encountered, as they have heard of the dangers of attacking men. All giants can throw boulders as missile weapons, though the range varies. Any hit from a thrown boulder inflicts 3 to 18 points of damage. Throwing ranges in yards for outdoor encounters are given for each giant. If encountered in a dungeon, the range should be read as feet. Hill giants. These hairy brutes are 12 feet tall and are very stupid. They wear animal skins and carry huge clubs and spears. They sometimes, 25%, throw rocks, but have limited range, 30, 60, 100. They live in hills or at the base of mountains and raid human communities from time to time for food and plunder. And you might be able to negotiate with them and go, hey, you might be able to buy them off from their attack or be able to get them to assist you with some task. But keep in mind that they are chaotic and dumb, right? Treat that as easily distracted and selfish, right? And motivated by themselves. So, if they're distracted by something, they may be like, oh, not good to eat. And, pick up, rip apart a horse and just start eating it because, it got bored and hungry, right? Stone giants. These giants are 14 feet tall and have gray rock-like skin. They use large stalactites as clubs. They often hurl rocks, ranges 100, 200, 300 feet. They live in caves or crude stone huts and may have 1 to 4 cave bears as guards, 50% chance. Frost giants. These awesome giants have pale skin and light yellow or light blue hair. They stand 18 feet tall and have long, full beards and wear fur skins and iron armor. Frost giants may hurl rocks, ranges 60, 130, 200. They often build castles above the timberline of snow-capped mountains. Frost giants always have either 3 to 18 polar bears, 20% chance, or 6 to 36 wolves, 80% chance, as guards. They are not affected by cold-based attacks. Fire giants. These giants have red skin and dark black hair and beards. They are 16 feet tall and wear copper, brass, or bronze armor. They often throw rocks, ranges 60, 130, 200. Fire giants usually make their home near volcanoes and other equally hot places. Their castles are often made of black, baked mud reinforced with crude iron. They always have either 1 to 3 hydrae, 20% chance, or 3 to 18 hellhounds, 80% chance, as guards. These giants are not affected by fire-based attacks. Cloud giants. These fierce giants have white or gray skin and hair. They wear pale robes and stand 20 feet tall. Cloud giants have keen eyes and a sharp sense of smell, so they are rarely surprised, 1 in 6 chance. They may throw boulders, range 60, 120, 200. They live in castles, in the sides of mountains, or atop masses of clouds. They keep either 3 to 18 giant hawks in cloud mountains or 6 to 36 dire wolves, only in mountains, as guards. Cloud giants hate to be disturbed and may block mountain passes to discourage trespassers. And finally, storm giants. These are the tallest giants, often over 22 feet tall. They have bronze-colored skin and bright red or yellow hair. They rarely, 10% chance, throw boulders. Ranges 150, 300, 450. They love thunderstorms and may create one in one turn. If a storm is present, a storm giant may throw one lightning bolt every 5 rounds. This bolt will do damage equal to the remaining hit points of the giant. A saving throw versus spell will reduce this to half damage. Storm giants live on mountaintops, in cloud castles, or deep underwater. Their castles will always be guarded by either 2 to 8 griffins in mountains and clouds, or 3 to 18 giant crabs underwater. Lightning does not affect these giants, and they are often found in the middle of fierce storms, enjoying the weather. And finally, that brings us to Golem, which you can see has an asterisk next to it. And we have, again, 4 types of golems: wood, bone, amber, and bronze. And these are different than living statues, I'm going to point out. And this doesn't include one of my favorites, actually, which is the flesh golem. I believe that's going to appear in the next set, though. But let's get into it. Wood golem, armor class 7, hit dice 2 plus 2 with an asterisk. Move 120 by 40, attacks with a fist. Damage 1 to 8. Number appearing 1, just be 1. Saves as fighter level 1. Morale 12. Treasure type nil. Alignment neutral. XP value 35. Bone golem, armor class 2. Hit dice 6, asterisk. 120 by 40 for movement. And attacks by 4 weapons. And the damage is by weapon. Again, only 1 appears. Saves as fighter level 4, morale 12. These are functionally unbreakable morale, okay? They are golems. They're not truly intelligent. Back to it. Treasure type nil, alignment neutral, XP value 500. Amber golem, armor class 6, but hit dice is 10 with an asterisk. Moves 180 by 60, so it's fast. Attacks 2 claws and a bite, and/or bite, the claws are 2 to 12 each, while the bite is 2 to 20. And again, only 1 appears. Saves as fighter level 5. Again, morale 12. No treasure. Neutral 1,600 XP. And finally, the bronze golem. Armor class 0. Hit dice 20. Double asterisk. Move 240 feet by 80. Pretty fast, right? Attacks 1 fist and special. That fist does 3 to 30 points of damage and special. Again, only 1 appears. Saves as fighter level 10. 12 morale. No treasure. Neutral. And XP value 4,300. A golem is a powerful enchanted monster created and animated by a high-level magic user or cleric. Golems can be made of almost any material, but the ones listed here are typical. The DM should feel free to create new ones with any special powers desired. Golems can only be damaged by magic or magical weapons. They are also immune to sleep, charm, and hold spells, as well as all gases, since they do not breathe. The creation of a golem is costly, time-consuming, and beyond the power of player characters in the D&D expert rules. So no, you cannot make one. Wood golem. These monsters are crude, man-like figures, about 3 feet tall. They move stiffly with a penalty of -1 on initiative rolls, if you're doing that kind of thing. They burn easily with a -2 penalty to all saving throws versus fire. And all such attacks gain +1 per die of damage. So if you were to, launch a fireball at it, it suffers a 2 penalty on saving throw and takes an extra 1 point of damage per die. However, they are immune to all cold-based attacks, all missile fire, including magic missile spells. Bone Golem. These are 6-foot tall creatures made from human bones, bound together into a man-like form. Their forearms may be attached nearly anywhere on their bodies, and each arm can wield a weapon. 4 one-handed weapons or 2 two-handed ones may be used by a bone golem, and it may attack 2 enemies each round. Bone golems are immune to fire, cold, and electrical attacks, which, is pretty handy, right? Sorry, I know, dad joke. Amber golem. These resemble giant cats, usually lions or tigers. Oh my. They are faultless trackers and can detect invisible creatures within 60 feet. Not much of a description, right? We did cover this more when we went through the Mystar expansion for the Monstrous Compendium. So, go back and find that if you want. Bronze Golem. These creations look somewhat like fire giants. Their skin is bronze, and their blood is liquid fire. Any creature hit by a bronze golem takes 1 to 10 extra points of damage from the great heat inside of it, unless resistant to fire. Anyone scoring damage on a bronze golem with an edged weapon must make a saving throw versus Death Ray, or take 2 to 12 points of damage from the fiery blood spurting out of the wound. Bronze golems are not affected by fire-based attacks. So that'd be quite a surprise. You swing your sword at the golem, you hit it, you slice into its ankle, and it oozes liquid molten bronze on you. Yeah, probably not fun. Anyhow, that's going to be it for today. We've finished literally like 2 pages, but they were quite deep pages. So thank you ever so much for joining me. Join us next week when we carry on. You have a great day. Goodbye.